Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm Kim. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Kim, how's your weekend been? Or your just week in general, I guess.
It's been pretty good. I've had family in town. And we also have VBS because it's summertime and I have a very social little girl.
Yes. I think VBS is probably a highlight of the summer just because of friends.
I think you're right. And that has provided an opportunity for me to work other places than normal, like home office, which is here. If you are watching video right here, or like my normal office. So that's been fun and interesting, just kind of a change of scenery. What about you?
Yeah. My week has been pretty normal, pretty standard. I don't know that there's anything super crazy. We had some birthday parties recently, so we had some pool parties and some cake, and that was a lot of fun. So.
Nice. Here's a question for you, Josh. What are you drinking today?
Just straight up water.
You are so bougie.
Thank you. That's funny.
I'm drinking. This is funny. The last episode we recorded with someone, which actually is going to drop this next Monday. So you'll have to watch for that. But we recorded it before this. And in between our regular episode recording and our bonus episode, I geeked out a little bit about these new flavors from Waterloo. And it's just sparkling water, but they're all like mixed drink flavors. And I love them. They're like super good. And I've been enjoying them a lot.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. The one you have is my least favorite, but they're good.
I know, but you don't like coconut. I love coconut. And I also love that it's clever. Look, it's Pinot Colada, like no alcohol, which I think is hilarious. I like a good play on words.
That's very true. If you pay attention to our titles and sometimes descriptions, Kim does most of those, and she loves alliteration. She loves playing with words.
I do like playing with words. If you think it might have been intentional, it probably was.
Yeah, that's true. So speaking about summer and fun drinks, what we wanted to talk today about tourism, but not just tourism. So if you've been around the show for a while, you have heard us talk about our involvement with Eden Protocol in South Africa. You've possibly seen the interviews with Francois, and there's at least 2, if not 3 of them. And so you've probably seen some of those, but that was just something we wanted to like bring back up and touch on today, was just this concept of tourism with a purpose. And it sort of like started with our involvement there. But I think you could expand it to like, there's lots of other places that do similar things. But it's just an idea of like not just doing something for the fun of doing something, but for there being a reason for doing it.
For sure. Yeah. And I would say, I think there's no better time to talk about it, at least in the US. We wouldn't say it's holiday season, but I think anywhere else in the world, you would say it's holiday season. But it's like the time for vacations, right?
Summer vacation.
People are traveling. I love to travel. Josh, you love to travel. And honestly, most of my life, travel has been all about me, right? Like, I want to see this. I want to experience that. What did I get out of this? And I think what we're really trying to propose here, and this has been honestly led by the Lord because I just told you what I thought about vacations before. And it's been leading into like, yes, go and enjoy and appreciate and love what you're doing and love what you're experiencing, but also don't go and just go and leave something behind too, like pour back in as well. And it's so possible and so doable. And I think sometimes if we just think about doing that, it can change our outlook on an entire trip, or it can even expand what we're able to take away from those glorious travels that we have, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, so I think back to our multiple trips to South Africa, and um, we had talked about doing like a tour there and showing people like around just some of the things we're involved in, and like also the beautiful land and the scenery and the fun things to do. And so like we've talked about doing some of that, and we visited some of the places planning on it. But like my most memorable trips to South Africa have been the ones where we've sort of done that organically.
Mm.
Um, and so like I don't know, early in our trips there, we took a trip and visited um, the Surfer Kids, which will always be one of my favorite things. Um, but part of the Surfer Kids is they do Bitcoin education with the Surfer Kids. And so it's a nonprofit who takes young children from a nearby township and teaches them how to surf, which, like, beside just teaching them a skill, um, actually gives them like job opportunities because they can become lifeguards and instructors and all sorts of things. So it's a pretty cool place for just like after school care and fitness and education. But they also teach them about Bitcoin, and they started teaching their neighborhoods about it. And so we got to go visit some shops in these townships and spend some Bitcoin while we were there. And it was like fun to see something we're both like passionate about. It was fun to see that like in person and in practice. And just, yeah, some of those things, like, I don't know, those trips stand out to me more so than some of the other trips, because it ended up being like tourism with a purpose, even though like I don't even think that trip had anything to do with that. That's kind of what it ended up being about.
It's true. I think it's because you go and like you actually get to connect with people who
Mm,
live there and are functioning there, and this is where their livelihood is.
yeah.
And it is amidst the beauty of everything. Like, this is a foreign land to us, right? And we live in a landlocked state. Okay. Like, oceans are not near.
Yeah.
However, I hold the ocean very near and dear to me. And so already, if I get to be at a beach or see the ocean, I'm like in heaven. But to be able to go, and then we get to meet people who are not only being instructors and helping these kids, but we get to meet the kids and hear about what they love about it. And we get to see them do this skill that they've been practicing, which is freaking amazing. I'll tell you, I lived in a very tropical place with beautiful beaches and a lot of surfing. I never did learn to surf, but I love watching it. I know it is such an athletic sport, and it is like you really do have to know what you're doing. And so it's really cool to see these kids who are from like ages 6 to 18 out there. They're just surfing, and it doesn't matter if it's cold or if it's hot, they're like doing it. Right. But then they go back and they have tutors who are helping them with their schoolwork, and they're getting a hot meal, and they have their own community going on, people who are supporting each other. And then they're able to go and take it back to their neighborhoods. And you can see where it's spreading, like you were talking about, Josh. So now they're starting to transact in Bitcoin. These kids have been learning about it. And then they're going back to their neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods are starting to transact in it. And it's such a cool thing to see. And I think you can miss it if you're not looking for it. And this is in a place where it is a tourist destination, and there are beautiful beaches, and there are all of the touristy things to do. But some of those things, seeing kind of beyond normal tourism, you really start to see and taste like the real flavor of the land, of the people, of the culture. And I think it's some of those things that really connect us there, and that have really caused us to fall in love with that place. It is the people, it is the land, it is the flora, it is the fauna, and it is a full picture, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I think this concept exists. I mean, we didn't come up with it. It exists all over the place. I think right now I have some friends that are on a tour in Israel, and that is to some degree tourism with a purpose. They're learning about locations that things from their beliefs took place in. And there's we got exposed to this through being in Bitcoin communities, but when El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, it drew people there for tourism, but for the purpose of being part of this financial economy that they weren't before. And there's mission trips have been a thing forever, and that's probably less like tourism.
Right.
But I think this concept, I think living life outside of yourself is one of the most important things you can do. Learning to find a purpose that's bigger than yourself, and a reason to live, and a reason to do things. And I think when you travel, if you can do that, it makes the trip that much more fulfilling. And it gives you a reason to travel instead of just traveling so that you can go to this beach or eat at this restaurant. It gives, even if you do those things, there's nothing wrong with enjoying the finest things that a place has to offer, but also having a reason for picking that place. I just think it's important to do, and it's something that you and I are I think passionate about, just because of our involvement with South Africa, and we've seen how it can make a difference, how it's made a difference in our lives, and how it makes a difference in the community's lives. And yeah.
That's true. You know what I think about our friend Bradley?
Yeah.
So in Mossel Bay, which is where we are, this is where we go in South Africa, it really is where we're drawn to. It was all happenstance that we wound up meeting this man named Bradley, who has a little coffee. It's not quite a shop. It's like a little food truck trailer, right?
Yeah.
Right outside another restaurant that we love to go to because we love the people there. The food is wonderful, but the people are amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so we have built relationships with people. This is part of it. It is not about going and consuming and leaving. It is about going and I really do want to build relationships with people. And even if I'm only back once a year, even if I come back every 5 years, can I still come up to this person and be so happy to see them, and vice versa? I think connections are really important. But anyway, so we wound up just stopping at this little truck for some coffee, and met this man who is running it. And he has, I'm telling you, a heart of gold. He is this amazing, bright, shining light in the middle of, you would never expect to find it, but there he was.
Yeah.
And he came from Zimbabwe, I think.
I think that's correct.
I think, I think he came from Zimbabwe, but we just wound up connecting with him, and it was over his coffee. We're buying coffee from him, but we're asking him about his life, and we're listening to his story. And if you think that we only do podcasts because we like to hear ourselves talk, that isn't what it is. Like, we like legitimately want to connect with people. And this is like, it doesn't matter if we're recording or not. Like, we're really are trying to like connect with others. And it was just such a sweet forging of relationship with him. But now every time we come back, we get to go see him. And even the last time we were there, it was like full on tears, just like so happy to see one another. And I will tell you, we've never seen him outside of the paradigm of the coffee shop or coffee trailer, right? But it's like such a joy every time. And that to me is part of this tourism with a purpose. Like, it is still community building. It is still making connections. It is still very meaningful. And it doesn't have to cost $1 million. And it doesn't have to be that you're doing the mission trip that you can check off the thing. It could simply be being a friend who cares about the well-being of another person. And you could, like, I don't know, change a life that way, but that's what I think about. I think about the Bradleys of the world. Like, who else is out there that like just needs a meaningful connection?
Yeah. And I mean, he's a perfect example because we see him every time we go. We make a point to go see him. And he always runs out of his food truck and comes and gives us a hug. Like, and we see him once or twice a year. And that's for me, it's like, oh yeah, like that's an impact. Like, you're making an impact on somebody when you see them that irregularly and they remember and they're happy to see you. And that to me is like, oh, that's tourism with a purpose. But I was just thinking while you were talking, I was like, there was nothing really touristy about when we met him. We were just living life.
We
And so
were.
maybe part of the point is just living life with a purpose and finding the Bradleys in the moments, whether that's where we live in Kansas or when we're in South Africa or,
Riding the
wherever we are.
subway. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, for sure. I think that's exactly it. And I think it's planting those seeds, and it doesn't have to always be, I'm just going to say this, it might just rub some people the wrong way. I'm going to ruffle some feathers. It doesn't always have to be the seeds of evangelism. It could be the seeds of love, which is also evangelistic if you actually want to look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it can actually be that human connection. It is seeing another person for their humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody gets that on a daily basis. Not everybody gets that once a week. Not everybody gets that once a year. I don't know.
No, I think that's exactly it. I mean, when you said that, the verse, like, they'll know we're Christians by our love. Like, that's what popped into my mind. And it's like, it's how we choose to live. It's how we choose to live. It's how you choose to live your life in your interactions with people you see every day. It's how you choose to do your vacations. It's how you choose to, whatever it is. Like, I mean, we're specifically talking about tourism with a purpose, but just your life, like that choice of choosing to interact with love, that could change a vacation into tourism with a purpose.
Sure. For sure. And you know what? I was also just thinking, I don't even think this has to be limited to humanity and connecting with people. We've talked about this in the past too, but you know how in scripture it talks about all of creation is groaning for the manifest sons of God. And I think even connecting with the land and the creation of a place can be deeply and wildly impactful.
Yeah.
So it could be the flora and it could be the fauna. It could be the ocean. It could be the sky. It could be the wind, whatever it is. And I don't know, you might think that all sounds super woo woo, but it's not. It's like, this is creation. And if we are truly going to walk as sons in the earth, like, why not pay attention? They've been waiting for us. So what if we just acknowledge them? And I think you can do this at home and abroad as well, you know, and I think that also makes a lasting impact.
Yeah. I think that's what that's the invitation of life is like, I heard somebody say once that on average you will really impact about 1,000 people during your lifetime. And like the average person will. Right. Maybe there's some people who have a larger platform and it will be more, but the average person will over their lifetime come in contact with and in some way impact 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we get to choose kind of how that interaction goes, at least 50% of that interaction.
Sure.
And if we choose to interact first, you might get to pick how 100% of the interaction goes, or at least 90%. You know, it doesn't have to be 50-50 if you choose to act in love first.
Yeah.
If you live your life with a purpose first.
So good. I feel like we should quote Rick Warren in here somewhere. Didn't he write The Purpose-Driven Life?
The Purpose-Driven Life, yeah. Yeah.
It's not a new concept. It isn't. Like, I know that this is not new, but man, is there life to be lived in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great. So we want to know from you guys, have you experienced tourism with a purpose? Have you been anywhere that was for a reason other than vacation? And if not, just let us know where your favorite vacation spots were, because we love to travel.
So we love to travel.
Yeah. Let us know where your favorite vacation spots have been. And let us know if there's been a point to it beyond that.
Yeah. I would love to hear some of those stories. I would love to have like a real conversation about some of those stories. I would love that. Big time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for joining. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Hey, thanks for listening. Keep up with us along this journey by liking, subscribing, and becoming a member through YouTube.
Members get exclusive access to bonus content with our guests, deeper dives into topics, and a look into other projects. We're glad to have you here. See you next time.